Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strong Collector Comics. I'm your host Dakota, here with my plucky sidekick Jordan, and today we're doing a follow-up to our X-Men rankings that we did last week. Now we're going to be ranking the villains. So, without any further ado, let's get into that ranking list. So we tried to pick out some of the villains that we kind of know a little bit more because there's no shortage of X-Men villains, and sometimes there's going to be crossovers between an X-Men villain and an Avengers villain. So try to be specific with X-Men villains that we at least had some knowledge of. I'm sure you're going to say like, oh, what about this really obscure one issue?
Right.
You know, that one didn't make our cut, but you are welcome to do this ranking list yourself. I'll leave a link in the description. You can take it, and I think you'll be able to edit and add in your own pictures if you want to. If I'm wrong, then, you'll probably just have to make your own. But this is what we've got. I think it's about 35-ish, I think, villains. So I switched up the category a little bit. Instead of doo-doo garbage, I've got who cares. So, again, it's just that worst villain that whenever they're in a story, you're like, I just read through this comic to get to the next, and hopefully this villain's not in here for too long.
That's fair.
And I think with most X-Men villains, Jordan, maybe I'm wrong on some of them, but I think they ally with some of them. Like Magneto's a villain, but then he's also leads the X-Men team. Mystique is sometimes an X-Men. Juggernaut's an X-Men. Destiny.
That's true.
Mr. Sinister. Like literally almost all of
even
these.
Sabretooth has teamed up with the X-Men before.
Right.
So,
we're going based off of villains here.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I think this covers pretty much most of what you think of when you think of an X-Men bad guy, like you said. Yeah.
So let's go right off the bat. Goat, Jordan. Give me a goat that you think deserves to be on the top of this list.
I'm going to have to go with Magneto.
I totally agree with that. If anybody says Magneto's not a goat, then you obviously haven't been reading your books.
Right. Yeah. I think the power is cool. I think the complexity of the character, the history with the X-Men, of course. I think there's just so many cool stories with Magneto. And, I definitely would rank him up there with the top.
I 100% agree with all of that, Jordan, and I'm going to hit you with a hot take goat. I don't think most people would think to do this, but I would say that Friends of Humanity deserves to be a goat, because to me, this is like one of the scariest villains because it's so realistic and believable. It's like, they're just humans that hate mutants, and it's like the hate that like perpetuates throughout the entire story forever and always. The future, the past.
Yeah. They're
always out to get the mutants.
I would kind of roll into that. I don't think we have him on this list, but the comic version of William Stryker kind of was from that vein of, he was more of like in the comics, an evangelist, where he's like, mutants are an abomination, God didn't intend this, that type stuff, which is from God, God Loves, Man Kills, the comic. Movies, they made him more of a military guy, but I think Friends of Humanity kind of captures that essence. So, yeah, I will actually agree with your hot take on that.
All right, now how about let's do the other end of the spectrum. Give me a who cares.
Ooh, who cares for me? I mean, I think I ironically always talking about liking him, and that's Eunice the Untouchable, just because he's just, again, got a hilarious name to me and just a funny power. Just nobody can touch him, which I think could be useful, but
also pretty lonely. You never feel the touch of a woman. That poor guy.
That's a poor guy. So yeah, I'd rank him somewhere in that category for sure.
I was hoping you would. I was hoping you weren't going to try to argue with me that he should be really high up the list.
He's a goat, dude.
Along with him, I think we could put Vanisher right next to him, because again, like, yeah, I get it. You can, turn invisible or, vanish, obviously, but pretty...
yeah, well, he's definitely from that era of when, like, before the X-Men kind of got their footing as far as getting, like, complex, intricate villains in a lot of ways. He's just got a great original first appearance look. So
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to take that guy seriously. Also, so I'll agree with that.
All right.
Another.
Let's
Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. What about Black Tom Cassidy? Where does he rank for you?
Black Tom Cassidy, I would put him at Who Cares or maybe backup.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these it's going to be hard for me to do Who Cares, so we might need to do the Who Cares where we can because. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of agree. I think there's a lot of, for me, I'm on like both ends of the spectrum here. They're either amazing or they're like, I couldn't care less about the character. So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll put them there. I mean, I'm gonna let you decide on Madeline Pryor, Goblin Queen, because I don't really know much of the original stories. I know kind of where she's at in more current stuff, and she's okay, but she's not like.
Right.
I wouldn't put her as a GOAT for sure.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is kind of that backstory of. I think I was talking to you recently about how Chris Claremont kind of intended her to be the way to kind of get Cyclops off the team and go off and retire. And then, of course, later writers were like, we got to bring Jean Grey back. And then, oh, she's a clone. And then she's a Mr. Sinister. And then this demonic power. You know, it's just, to me, it kind of, I don't know. I don't, again, for me, part of that is like, I don't know if that totally fits, like, the vibe of X-Men, if that makes sense to me. I might go with backup on that, personally, for me.
I mean, as far as costumes go, I'd say GOAT. But as far as characters go, backup.
That's fair. You couldn't, don't want to see Blob in that outfit?
if we could get a costume change.
Just costume swap. All right, what about the Blob? Speaking of them, Dakota.
I think the Blob is a classic. I don't think he's a GOAT, but I think he deserves. I think he deserves at least a good. I would say maybe not great, just because he's kind of one of those like he's usually a lackey, like he's always just a henchman. He's never going to be leading a team.
Yeah, he's not making any big power plays.
No, exactly.
I'd go with good.
Good. Okay, I agree.
Fair. I think that's fair.
Arcade over here.
Arcade.
He's okay, but he's another one that I just like if he's in a story, I probably am not super invested. So I'd have
usually kind of like a fun little side adventure for the X-Men.
Yeah.
Backup?
I think backup is fair.
I don't think he's a who cares, because I think they've done some cool stories with him, and I think they're using him in the X-Men 97. We might get like a video game episode, I heard, so that could be kind of fun to see. So I'll agree with that. Okay, what about the Brood? Let's go intergalactic.
Brood is another one that I've just never been interested in ever. I know they, get Kitty Pryde pregnant somehow, and she has a bunch of brood eggs, and
yeah. Again, it's kind of like more showing up when the X-Men have their cosmic adventures, right? It's not like... Well, and it's also hard to develop like a deeper backstory with these seemingly just kind of race of generic alien bad guys. It's not like they have a real personal tie.
Right.
Where does that put them? Is that good or is that backup?
I'd probably throw them in backup.
All right, I'll let you have that for now.
I don't know.
Think about it because I'm a sucker for scary monsters. You know that.
Yeah, that's true. But
we'll keep working on our list.
Yeah. All right.
And see where they lie.
All right. How about Onslaught? Because it's super powerful, big.
Right.
Final boss type character.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not in a bunch of stories, so it kind of hurts him a little bit. Where it's like I don't necessarily know a ton about him. I know he's cool. Like I like the idea and the concept.
Well, yeah. As a kid, I always loved the design.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Cool, and then the whole idea of Professor X and Magneto like merging their consciousnesses,
right?
I thought was kind of a fascinating idea.
That's kind of where I'm torn, because I feel like I have my childhood like this was one of those like characters like Galactus, where it's like I knew who they were and was just like, oh, that's a super cool, super powerful
shows
character.
Up, serious stuff going down, but as far as like a recurring cool threat ongoing to the team,
I'd say maybe good.
I was thinking good. I was going to go with the good for now.
Yeah. How about some Sentinels?
Oh, Sentinels, man, I think are so cool. I mean,
I was gonna say I think they deserve to be in the GOAT category.
I think they're GOAT status because, like, there's so many things. Whether it's a Days of Future Past thing, whether you're, doing a Master Mold story, people finding the Sentinels, just a lot of directions you can go. So,
Right.
I definitely agree with that. I think they're among the top. What about Mojo?
Mojo, I think, is to me more fun in the animated series. I think I haven't really read. I mean, I've read stories with him in it, but it's kind of one of those like arcade stories where it's like, yeah, I get that we're just kind of like, throwing some crazy scenarios at the X-Men, and it's like, but
How
as a
weird can we
character,
make this?
yeah, not my favorite, but I don't think it's a who cares. Maybe backup or good.
I think a backup's fair.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I think that's fair. Let's go into. I see you got. What about Cassandra Nova?
Cassandra Nova to me, and I'll somewhat defer to you.
Okay.
But she's more of a who cares to me because,
All right.
like, I know she's a really strong telepath. She's like Professor X's evil twin sister.
Yeah, evil
But
fetus that I think, defeats in the womb or something.
yeah, something like that. I haven't
It
read
was
that story. But
Grant Morrison writing the X-Men in the early 2000s, which I do like Grant Morrison. Sometimes some of his ideas can almost get a little off the rails.
Yeah.
Um,
because she's also one of the villains in the Astonishing X-Men. Like,
yeah,
she's
I do
kinda like-
remember. I thought she was utilized pretty well in that, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I don't know, man. I'm definitely going to argue against the who cares.
Okay, that's fine.
I would shoot for a good, but if you want to settle on backup, we could go with that too.
I can trust you on a good. Because I think she's powerful and she's enough of a problem. Like, I'll give her that. Another one that I'll somewhat defer to you again is Shadow King. I've never liked anything with him in it. Even the cartoons I didn't think were that great. I'd put him in a who cares. Like I said with Professor X, like, oh, he's fighting the Shadow King. It's just like psychic cloud monsters. I don't care.
Let's go with the backup then.
Backup, all right.
Can I get you to do a backup?
Sure.
All right.
I haven't read this story where he's got his spider legs, so maybe I got to check that out.
That might do it for you, man. I know you love a good monster person, so. Okay. How about
Apocalypse? Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
he's got to be, in my mind, he's a great or he's a goat.
I think he's got to be a goat, dude.
Okay.
I think there's so many cool things, like the notion of just having an ancient mutant, pretty much the first mutant, getting the mythology, the Egyptian stuff, the alien stuff. I just think there's a lot of cool, and it's a shame that they just butchered him in that. What was it? Was it called Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah, Age of Apocalypse, I think.
Gosh, what a disgrace to
I agree.
That storyline. They just I'm waiting for the day when then they do him right in movies. I think that'll be cool. But yeah, definitely.
I think that would be a super cool idea for the X-Men, because it could be like Avengers now, where you get in a little ways and it's kind of like, all right, what are we going to do with these right now? It's like, boom, just throw them into Age of Apocalypse, give them new looks, make it a 2-movie thing. And I think that's
bada boom,
bada boom, bada bing. And plus you've got his 4 horsemen, and whenever he picks out whoever it's going to be, and it's like a character and he just kind of like soups them up, gives them some like evil extra power-ups. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty much saved the character Angel in my mind. Probably wouldn't care about him at all if he still had feather wings.
You like those metallic wings and blue face paint. I see we got is that Sebastian Shaw? We're going to rank him of the Hellfire Club.
I mean, the Hellfire Club is important. Is he a great, though? I don't think so, personally.
I think maybe we could do a good. I think a good's fair.
Yeah, that's probably.
I was always, even as a kid, kind of confused. Like, I get what they were going for, but they're like all wearing their mutton chops and cloaks and petticoats. I mean, it's definitely a different. I think what I'm thinking about as we're doing this is just how unique the X-Men bad guys are. They're definitely not afraid to like just go in a lot of different directions. So
yeah, you've
I
got
thought
everybody
that was
from like Friends of Humanity to Mojo, so to
right. Now I
pterodactyl
just
dinosaur men.
oh, that's a good next pick, I think. I'm gonna let you rank him though.
I mean, I think this is another one that is skewed by my childhood love of pterodactyl monster men. He was one of my favorites. Like whenever he was in the cartoons, like I was pumped. I was ready to go. Probably one of my
Yeah.
favorite characters as a kid. So
Right.
to me,
I
I'd probably rank him a little higher than I think a real X-Men savant would say he deserves to be ranked. But
Are you going like a GOAT ranking or a great?
I mean, I'm not crazy enough to say GOAT. I would
I'd
say
give him a great. I really would,
okay.
because I think that we can do maybe another episode on this later. But my pitch for MCU X-Men would be using Sauron and going to the Savage Land, because I think
that'd be
that's
cool.
I think that's a very cool setting, and
Mm-hmm.
I think brings a lot of unique flair to the X-Men. So I think that's fair.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
I think another great, not quite GOAT status for me would be Juggernaut.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think he's a super important X-Men villain, but to rank him with Magneto and Apocalypse, I just don't think that's really his level.
Yeah, she's not quite a blob lackey,
No.
but I do think he's got some more complexity to his character. I think the whole Professor X relationship, and they've kind of done their own share of redemption anti-hero Juggernaut arcs, which I think can be interesting too.
Right.
But he just looks cool. I mean, come on, King.
Very true. Another GOAT, you can argue me if you think it's a little too high. Maybe it's a great, but I think Mystique deserves to be in one of those top 2 spots.
I agree.
You agree with the GOAT?
I think I'd give her a GOAT. Yeah,
Okay.
I would.
Because I think that's just one of those characters that's been around forever that I think whenever she's in a story, it's usually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Mystique, and I'm still again hoping for a live action version that's a little more comic faithful. So hopefully we get that.
I don't know why the movies just always have to have Mystique naked.
Yeah, the nakedness, and then making her like the hero, and some of that they just went a little too far for me with that. So
I agree.
I know you're a big Nimrod fan, Dakota.
Yeah, to me, I'd put him pretty low on the list, but I don't know that I've even read a single story with him.
I just always loved his name, Nimrod.
I agree with that. I just always thought, like, even in the cartoons, like, at least in X-Men, the animated series, I don't know if he was in others, but he was just so, like I just saw him on screen, and I was like, you're like a 5-point articulation action figure. Like, you don't move at all. And that always bothered me. But
I get that.
I think I'm approaching stories with him in it with my X-Men current readings, so maybe I'll like him more then. But right now, he'd be towards the bottom for me.
Let's do a backup. I'll give him a backup on that. What about one a lot of people like, Dakota, is Omega Red.
Omega Red is pretty cool. I like him. I don't think he deserves to be a GOAT.
Got the Weapon X backstory.
Right.
Always kind of scared me as a kid, to be honest. Omega Red kind of freaked me out.
I say he goes either good or great.
I think we go with great.
Great. Okay.
Great.
I think that's fair. I want to read the Weapon X story. It's like because I'm reading my 2018-ish X-Men right now, and he's in the Weapon X team, so I gotta read that. Another one that I don't really care too much about is Mesmero.
Yeah,
I think
definitely could rank him. There we go. Who cares? I think we don't need to do who cares. But
yeah, okay. I'm gonna rank it. I would personally rank him higher than I think you would rank Mastermind.
Ooh,
because I like Mesmero better than Mastermind. At least I haven't read a ton with Mastermind in it, but he's kind of like to me.
All right, what do you put
Mesmero looks a little more
at?
like Brainiac. I'd maybe put Mesmero as backup, and I probably could maybe put them both as backup, honestly.
I mean, if you need it, I just didn't know if we needed to round out our who cares category a little bit.
Sometimes I like it to be even, this list, I don't care if it's even. We could have it.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I would put Mastermind.
Backup or who cares?
Oh, dude, he's
good.
He's got some power, but
I give you that. It's I'll default Mastermind to you. I think you've read more with him in it than me.
All right. Well, I just like him from mainly the Dark Phoenix saga. I think was pretty instrumental in that storyline. I would say good personally.
Okay, I'll give you that
myself. And then if you want to bump Mesmero up to backup,
I can leave him down there. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. You can live with it.
All right. If we want to stack the goat category a little bit more, Sabretooth is a goat.
Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely.
Anytime Sabretooth's on screen or in the books, it's a good time.
They definitely... There's a lot of things you can do with Sabretooth. I think sometimes it's not always been... I didn't love him going feral and getting killed and then now doing like a Sabretooth multiverse, but maybe we'll get back to the basics eventually with Sabretooth. But yeah, definitely one of the all-time great X-Men adversaries. So,
for sure.
How about Avalanche?
Avalanche, to me, is pretty cool. I've always liked him. But at the same time, he's definitely no goat. I'm not that crazy. I don't think he's a who cares, but honestly, anywhere in the three, I think good would be fair.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair.
Because he's kind of one of these, like, I don't know, he's got powers, but it's, I don't know. He's not as cool as like an Earthbender.
Kind of has that Blob
right.
vibe to me. Whenever he shows up, it's like he's usually there to support the head honcho and cause some damage.
Right.
Makes for some interesting fights, but yeah, I haven't really seen them explore him.
Yeah. Whenever I think of Avalanche, though, I also think of Pyro. So do you think he's on the same level? Or is he
At least
better?
For me, Pyro is always a little more visually appealing.
I agree.
I think the idea of him, cool design, controlling fire, I think it's a fun power. I don't know, at that point, maybe I'd go Pyro. Probably good. I don't think he's. Is he a great?
That's kind of what I was wondering too. I don't think he's a great, but I've another one of those like childhood favorites that probably skews my perception of the character.
That's fair.
I think along with them, if we're thinking like Brotherhood characters, Toad is another kind of OG, but he's one in my mind that's probably more like backup. I don't know. I've never loved Toad.
I have a soft spot for him for some reason. Not sure exactly why. But yeah, the grand scheme of things, I mean, if I were calling up a new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Toad would probably be pretty low on my list. Yeah, he might be going good or backup.
I'll leave it to you. As long as it's in one of these two, I think it's fair.
I'm going to give him a good... I don't know, though. He's on the same level as Mastermind.
Same level as Onslaught.
Yeah, let's go back to backup. Dude.
I mean, we could always move Onslaught up to great or something. Because Onslaught does seem a little OP for this category. Let's do Onslaught to a great. Okay.
And
I think that makes a little more sense.
Maybe Toad can stay chilling where he is.
Okay.
Mr. Sinister.
I think the most recent episode of X-Men 97 made him pretty cool. I haven't read... He seems like he's a much more main character in the newer stuff. And I haven't gotten to those books yet, so...
Right.
My reading of Mr. Sinister is pretty limited, but I think in the animated series, he's always been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think in the comics, the whole idea of him being older, being more into genetics, and I think that's always been kind of a cool intersection with the X-Men and him almost like I guess they went dark with Beast, but kind of the darker side of Beast, where he's interested in the X genes and experimentation, but kind of is a little more ruthless in his approach. I would go great, personally.
Okay, I think that's fair. Nobody else can pull off a cape like that.
I know. That is a beautiful cape. I don't know where he got it, but it's fabulous.
How about Bastion?
Man, I'm gonna say this is one that I'm not super familiar with myself.
Okay.
So
At least
I'll defer to you.
In my current readings, he's kind of like the next evolution of Sentinel, but in the books I'm reading, he's like trying to save mutants because there's not enough mutants on the Earth to destroy or something like that. I don't really get his point because he's trying to save
What's your
mutants.
deal, man?
Maybe he's trying to like enslave them or something so that like he needs more population. I don't know. To me, I don't know. He's got the powers, but he's kind of like a backup, and at least in terms of character to me, because I'm like, what do you're? I don't know. Not really a main character in my mind.
That's fair to me.
Destiny's another one that seems to. I mean, she's OG, but she's also kind of more current.
Yeah.
And I have really not read much with her in it. And she was never really in the animated series much, I don't think, either. I think she was in like X-Men Evolution, but not really looking like this.
Did you go... Are you hovering over great or good?
I'm just bouncing her around, making the viewers, where's she going to drop?
Where's she going to go?
I'd say good.
I mean, I think that's fair. I would agree with that.
Because I definitely don't see her as a GOAT for sure. I don't think she's terrible. She's just kind of average. Maybe I'll read those books and change my mind. How about Danger?
Ooh, I like Danger. I thought when they introduced this character, it was a really cool concept having the Danger Room being self-aware, you know, kind of learning from all of its time with the X-Men. Professor X kind of willingly keeping her there to preserve the team. I don't know if I'd go GOAT, but I think I'd go with Great, because I think that would be a cool character to see them continue to do stuff with.
Yeah, and in the stuff I'm reading right now, she's teamed up with Magneto as he's like leading the younger, like time-traveled all-new X-Men. And yeah, she's still pretty cool in that. I'd like to see her some more. But yeah, especially in that Astonishing X-Men story, like that was awesome.
Sure.
Got 3 left, Jordan. Who do you want?
Let's do Lady Deathstrike.
Okay. Another character that I've never been interested in, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, my earliest memories, of course, are the X-Men 2 movie. She's just got long fingernails.
I mean, she's in the animated series, but even that, I was like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, if we got Sabretooth, you know.
Right.
If Sabretooth and Omega Red aren't available, maybe I'll call Lady Deathstrike. So is that
You gonna put her in the backup?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
All right. Dakin?
Dakin?
I don't know. I know commenters told me how to say it in one of our other videos,
but I feel like we had like 3 people that were like super sure of how to say it. So
and it was all different.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I've always said Dakin, but
we're okay. Can we go with the good?
I think good is fine because I've always liked him. I think he's pretty cool. I like the Dark Avengers stuff.
I think he was recently killed by Sabretooth, though.
Son of a gun. Well, you know, for how long, though?
Let's say he'll be back by the end of the year for sure. Right. But yeah.
And that leaves us with Wendigo.
The Wendigo. I love the Wendigo in general. Of course, you got, you know, first appearance Wolverine going toe-to-toe with the Wendigo, so there's a long history there. I don't know how much I think of them as like, oh my gosh, the X-Men are going toe-to-toe with Wendigo again.
Right.
So that's kind of tough for me, because I'm trying to think of these in relation to, how good the stories are with these X-Men, with the X-Men. What are you thinking?
I like them more than I like the Brood.
Okay.
I think I would say good. You could talk me into backup if you're really hating on the Wendigo.
I'd go with good, because like I said, I've got a soft spot for the Wendigo, for sure.
Yeah. All right. this is the list, Jordan. You happy with how it is? Need to move anything? I think it's...
I think I'm pretty content with that.
Not nearly as high of, or at least as shocking of a Professor X being in my doo-doo garbage category.
Right.
Trying to get you to bring him down.
Nothing that wild for me on this one. But I think this kind of covers the scope of most our major X-Men villains there.
Yeah, I mean, leave me a comment if you think we missed somebody. I tried to think of as many as I could. Like I said, I
guess you could vaguely be like the Shi'ar. But even then, they're kind of more allies that were like adversarial because they had to be.
And I didn't put in like you'd said, Trask and some of those like human guys because I was just like, I'm not even going to be able to like pick them out of the lineup here. I'm going to be like, this is some dude in a suit.
Is that Henry Gyrick or Oliver Trask? They look the same.
So that's why I left those off the list just for simplicity. But
you got kind of the essence of that with
right.
the Friends of Humanity Sentinel stuff going on. I feel like those kind of cover the affiliates with those organizations. So yeah. Well, thank you for watching. Let us know, of course, below what you think of our rankings, as well as sharing some of your own rankings. Like Dakota said, he'll post the link for the tier maker. You can use it for this, really whatever else you'd like. So be sure to be sharing that, liking, subscribing, and until next time, as always, stay strong.